Hi, welcome back. So good that you're here. We're going to continue with Unit 7, the empty classroom. Today we're going to look at reading 1. Teaching to the world from Central New Jersey. The vocabulary today is distance education timeline that we can see from 1728 all the way up till 1995. On the next page, it's until 2012. We see a lot of bold-faced words here. On this page here, we see the word virtual and diversity. And in the page before, we see the words assumption, issue, enhances, crucial, analyzes, anticipation, subsequent, via, collaboration, and significantly. I would like you to read this timeline to understand and see how the bold-faced words are used in context. And then write the words from the box next to the definitions to see the connection between the word and the definition. Okay, you can pause your video to do that. Go ahead. That brings us to previewing. In previewing, as you already know, we focus on getting the text type. So we are predicting the genre of the text, which then helps us to understand the purpose of the text, which then helps us to focus to know what to read for. And we do that by looking at the titles, the headings, and the visuals. After that, we will skim the text by reading the introductory paragraph, every topic sentence, and the concluding paragraph. And that will help us to get the main idea. When we skim, we annotate the keywords, yes? And after that, we do the active reading by reading only the body paragraphs, and then also we annotate on the keywords. But first, we do previewing. Please look at the text. Write down what you think the genre of the text is and what the purpose of the text is. And then you are going to read the article about Princeton University professor experience teaching 40,000 students from 113 countries. So I want you to read the first paragraph of Teaching to the World from Central New Jersey and then answer these questions number 1, 2, and 3. And then we will discuss them in class. Okay, I'm going to give you some time. You can pause your video to do the previewing. Go ahead. Great. I'm going to pause. You have answered the 3 questions. Now I'm going to give you some time to skim the text. And please write down the main idea of this text. Go ahead. Okay, let's actively read it together.
Teaching to the World from Central New Jersey. Teaching to the World from Central New Jersey by Mitchell Dunier. A few months ago, just as the campus of Princeton University had grown nearly silent after commencement, 40,000 students from 113 countries arrived here via the internet to take a free course in introductory sociology. The non-credit Princeton offering came about through a collaboration between Coursera, a new venture in online learning, and 16 universities, including my own. When my class was announced last spring, I was both excited and nervous. Unlike computer science and other subjects in which the answers are pretty much the same around the globe, sociology can be very different depending on the country that you come from. As letters and email messages began arriving in anticipation of my course, I wondered how I, an American professor, could relate my subject to people I didn't know from so many different societies. Would my lectures become yet another example of American ethnocentrism and imperialism as I presented my sociological concepts like so many measuring sticks for the experiences of others around the world? Was it really possible, I asked myself, to provide quality education to tens of thousands of students in more than 100 countries at the same time, and in a way that would respond to the diversity of viewpoints represented from 6 continents? My concerns grew deeper as I sat before the cold eye of the camera to record my first lecture. With nobody to ask me a question, or give me bored looks, or laugh at my jokes, I had no clues as to how the students might be responding. Staring into this void, it was hard for me to imagine that anyone was listening. Can we even call these lectures when there is no audience within the speaker's view? Aren't those interpersonal cues, those knowing nods and furrowed brows that go from the audience to the professor, as crucial to the definition of a lecture as the cues that go from the lecturer to the audience? My opening discussion of C. Wright Mills's classic 1959 book, The Sociological Imagination, was a close reading of the text, in which I reviewed a key chapter, line by line. I asked students to follow along in their own copies, as I do in the lecture hall. When I give this lecture on the Princeton campus, I usually receive a few penetrating questions. In this case, however, within a few hours of posting the online version, the course forums came alive with hundreds of comments and questions. Several days later, there were thousands. Although it was impossible for me to read even a fraction of the pages of students' comments as they engaged with one another, the software allowed me to take note of those that generated the most discussion. I was quickly able to see the issues that were most meaningful to my students. In addition to the course lectures, I arranged live exchanges via a video chat room in which 6 to 8 students from around the world, some selected from the online class, others volunteers here at Princeton, participated with me in a seminar-style discussion of the readings, while thousands of their online classmates listened in to the live stream or to recordings later. During these weekly sessions, I found that I was able to direct the discussion to issues that had been raised in the online postings. Along with 2 Princeton students, our online seminar included university students from Nepal, Siberia, Iran, and Nigeria, a travel agent from Georgia, a civil servant from Singapore, and a fireman from Philadelphia. Their comments often revealed precisely how American sociology's assumptions about social life need to be analyzed and reconstructed in light of experiences elsewhere. With so much volume, my audience became as visible to me as the students in a traditional lecture hall. This happened as I got to know them by sampling their comments on the forums and in the live seminar-style discussions. As I developed a sense for them as people, I could imagine their nods and, increasingly, their critical questions. Within 3 weeks, I had received more feedback on my sociological ideas than I had in a career of teaching, which significantly influenced each of my subsequent lectures and seminars. Before the class began, I had played down this kind of teaching as inevitably a pale reflection of on-campus learning, both in terms of student-faculty interaction and the residential college experience. Yet, as I got to know some of my students, I came to feel that the difference was not of the sort I had imagined. For most of them, the choice was not between an online course and a traditional university. It was, as one student put it, a choice between online class versus no class. Nor had I imagined the virtual and real-time continuous interaction among the students. There were spontaneous and continuing in-person study groups in coffee shops in Kathmandu and in pubs in London. Many people developed dialogues after following one another's posts on various subjects, while others got to know those with a common particular interest, such as racial differences in IQ, the prisoner abuses that took place at Abu Ghraib, or ethnocentrism, all topics covered in the lectures. As one of hundreds who posted in the past few days wrote, "It has been an incredible experience for me, one that has not only taught me sociology, but the ways in which other cultures think, feel, and respond. I have many new friends via this class." Another wrote, "It started as intellectual activity, but it's ending in an indescribable emotional relationship with all my classmates." This is my cue. As I prepare to re-enter the lecture hall at Princeton this September and go back online in February, I am asking myself how I can translate the benefits of online technology to enhance the dialogue with and among my on-campus students and between them and my online students around the globe. I had begun worrying about how I could bring the New Jersey campus experience to them. I ended by thinking about how to bring the world back to the classroom in Princeton.
Yes, very good. Well, this is interesting because this article came out several years back, which probably at that time it was a very modern thing to do something online, and now it is normal. Everybody does everything online, and classes are all online due to our pandemic. So you can see how fast things change in the world, right? Okay, we're looking here at the first thing, the first point, which is how did your previewing work? Did it help you focus and direct you to read the text and better understand the text? And what is the main idea of the text? We continue with number 2. Reading 1 discusses Professor Dunier's feelings and concerns before, during, and after his MOOC. I want you to circle the sentence that best answers the question, and then we'll talk about it. Like number 1, is there answer A, B, or C? And that is for numbers 1, 2, and 3. You can pause your video to answer these 3 questions. Go ahead. That was listening for the main ideas and main points. Now we're going to listen for details. I want you to read each statement and decide if it is true. T, false, F, according to the reading. Write the number of the paragraph that supports your answer, okay? Because it's important that we always have evidence. Yeah, if the statement is false, I would like you to change it to make it true. For instance, number 1, Professor Dunier realized that teaching sociology to students from many different societies would not be as easy as teaching them computer science. That is true, and it is found in paragraph 2. Okay, I'd like you to answer the rest of the numbers until number 8. You can pause your video. Remember, some of the details are mentioned explicitly, easy to find. Some are implicit, so you need to use inference. Remember, get the facts, connect them, and conclude. So good. Go ahead. Yeah, that brings us to making inferences. Remember that with inferences, as I just stated, get the facts and then you can conclude what it means. That would be making inferences, yeah, looking for the underlying meaning. Writers sometimes suggest their level of concern about something without stating it directly. So that is a degree of concern that we are concluding. In the text, Professor Dunier expresses several worries and concerns about the new course he will be teaching online now. How concerned is he that he is able to relate his sociology course to people he doesn't know from so many different societies? So we have not very concerned, somewhat concerned, concerned, and very concerned. Now, from the way the person talks, we can infer how concerned the person is. So we can look at the degree. Okay, that brings us to the chart. For each concern or worry expressed by the professor in the reading, decide how concerned he is. Write an X in the column that best corresponds to his degree of concern. You have to look at the paragraphs in the parentheses, yeah? So we have number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So go back to the paragraph that's in the parentheses, like number 1 is paragraph 3. And then you decide whether he is not very concerned, somewhat concerned, concerned, or very concerned. I'm going to give you some time to pause your video to do this. That brings us to the last part of the video, expressing our opinion. Very important. For that we use RL, yeah, assertion, reason, evidence and linking back, or peel, point, explanation, evidence and linking back. It is important for you to critically look at things, analyze them, see the key factors, connect them, correlate, and from there come to a conclusion. And not only doing that in your head, but also expressing it with a structure. So I'd like you to look at questions 1, 2, and 3. Let's look at 1. Do you think it is possible to teach all subjects as MOOCs, or are there some subjects that must be taught face-to-face in a classroom or with a similar enrollment? 2, would you enjoy and be successful in an MOOC? Why or why not? Be specific. And 3, do you think distant learning is the future of education? Do you think we will still have classrooms as we know them in 50 or 100 years? Well, since we have been doing online teaching and learning for the last 2 years, these are very interesting questions to talk about. So please answer them. Be ready to practice your critical thinking and critical expression of opinion. Yeah, with a good structure. I'm very excited to hear what you think of this. Awesome. That brings us to the end of our lesson today. In a nutshell, what did we do? We looked at the vocabulary. We matched the words with definitions. Then we went over previewing, that's predicting the text type and purpose and knowing how to do that. Then we did skimming, which is getting the main idea and how we should do that. We listened for main points and details. And then we looked at inferring degree of concern that we can get out of the word choice that is used, how things are stated, we can know the degree of concern. And we looked at expressing opinion. You were amazing today. Thank you very much. I'll see you very soon. God bless you. Bye.